What if you need to quickly edit a typo or have fewer lines of text than the song would naturally have? Or you need to split or combine slides? Or you need to have a slideshow that changes automatically behind lyrics without changing with every single slide change? How can you do that? Well, stick around and find out. Presented by Church Tech U, it's the ProPresenter Show. On today's show, features that aren't used as often in ProPresenter, but maybe they should be. Hi, and welcome again to the ProPresenter Show. This is the show where I teach all about ProPresenter. My name is Paul Allen Clifford, and if you've ever needed to do any of those things, go ahead, tell me about it in the comments below. So this actually started with my ProPresenter group that I do a weekly Q&A for. And I thought that I would talk about the different features inside of ProPresenter. So for those of you that are not members of Church Tech U, just go to Church Tech, the letter U, churchtechu.com and see if it's right for you. So I went through and for an hour I talked about all the different features. Well, I don't want to keep you for an hour. You might have other stuff to do. So I thought that I would just touch on a few of those features right now, and then maybe in a future tutorial I'll touch on a few other features that are maybe not used as much. So let's talk about the first one right now. So first I want to talk about just the import. So if we go to File, Import, and then whether we do File, Text from Clipboard, or Song Select by CCLI, it'll give us the same import dialog. So I'm going to just select File here, and we're going to choose Amazing Grace. Right. Actually, let me do And Can It Be? Haven't brought that one in. Now notice that we've got 6 lines or 7 lines per slide. So how can I divide that up into, let's say, 2 lines per slide? Well, if you understand what they're doing in the import dialog, then you can do it fairly easily. Just click Import, and by default this says Paragraph Break. Click on it, change it to Line Break. And by default, delimiters per slide says 1. Well, click on that, highlight it, or just hit the backspace button, whatever, and change that to 2. So we need line break and 2 of those. Then select your theme, your resolution, etc., and import that. And when we do that, notice, even though the original song had 6 or 7 lines per verse, now we've got it all split up nicely and evenly, 2 lines per slide. So the next thing I wanted to show you is, well, what if this is just a little too small? And I admit it is. Well, one thing that you can do is you can slide the slider over just to make it a little bit bigger. But what if it's just not big enough on the screen that goes to your congregation? Well, if you click on text here and use the up arrow, you can change. Here, let me just select one of these here. Text, up arrow, and now it will change all the slides. So if it was just a little too small, you could do that. But notice how that actually caused a problem. It's actually gone over to the third line here. So actually second in this case, third in this case. So what we can do is also the opposite. So I can just tap down just a little bit. And now we're back to our 2 lines on all of them except this one. So let me just keep going down just a hair more. And there we go. So that is the biggest it can be with those 2 lines. Now, what I could also do, and this is another thing, is I can go into reflow here. And when I go into reflow, let's say down here I want to split these slides up. Well, what I could do is click where I want it to split and select Insert Slide Break. Or I can use Option Return as the keyboard shortcut on a Mac, or Control Enter on Windows. They both do the exact same thing. And that splits the slide right there. And so if I were to go back here, now I have the ability to maybe make that a little bit bigger, because I'm just going to go down, because that one, now this is 2 lines. This is one I could like add a carriage return, enter right in the middle there, or maybe add it after the comma here, but we're still on 2 lines per slide. Well, what happens when the worship leader or whoever decides that 2 lines is not enough, we need more? Well, again, reflow editor. So go back into reflow editor, and this only works within the same grouping of slides. So I can do that here within verse 1. And so I'm going to click on right where I want to get rid of the slide break, and hit the backspace button on a Windows keyboard, or the delete button. That's where the backspace button should be on a Mac. And so I can go through really quickly, and I can change it from 2 lines per slide to 4 lines per slide. So that's something else that I can do right there. Of course, I can fix any typos in here. This actually isn't a typo, but since this song is in the public domain, because John and Charles Wesley have been dead and with Jesus a good long time, they don't need money. I could have fixed it here, but let's say that I want to fix it right here. Well, let's find that song. I can right click and go to Quick Edit and do it like that. So just click where I want it to be, hit the backspace button a couple of times, and now when I click on that X, now it's updated. So I've absolutely seen typos a couple of slides ahead of time, and found an opportune moment and used Quick Edit to fix that. So that is something you can do as well. Now, for the last thing, if I select this playlist and I drag and drop the entire playlist here, now I'm going to leave Always Retrigger off. Watch what happens when I select that. It does select this first image from here, but after a short amount of time it goes to the next image, even though I haven't changed slides. It's like I've made a video of these slides, and it's going to loop over and over again. So how did I do that? Well, I went into ProPresenter, Settings, and Import. And then for the image, I made sure they came in as a background, because otherwise, if they were foregrounds, they would override the text every time they switched. So I changed those to backgrounds. I changed the duration to random, although it could be a certain amount of time, so say 7 seconds or whatever. And then I have I could either do the next one or a random one. And once I import new images into that, then this will change automatically. Now, I probably wouldn't want to do that with announcement slides necessarily. But notice that this says wedding, funeral, etc. Well, what if I want to bring in a bunch of images of the bride and groom? I can do it like that. For a funeral, I could bring in a bunch of images of the departed and just bring it in like that. There's all kinds of stuff that I could do that way. Other special events, etc. So it's a pretty cool thing. And notice basically what's going on here is this is the duration that it's going to be on. So if I wanted to, I could even right click and go into next queue. No, I think I have to do it in the inspector. Go into the inspector here. And okay, duration right here. This is where I could change it. So almost missed it. It was hiding down there at the bottom. So that's something else that I could do. So those are a few of the little features that are hiding inside of ProPresenter that you may not have used. In fact, I'd be surprised if anyone watching this has used all of those. You might have used one or two or most of them even, but all of those features are rarely used. I'm sure there's probably someone that does, but probably not a lot of people. If you like this content, you'd probably like my ProPresenter Quick Start course, so head on over to TDM.fyi/ProQuick. Give me your name and email address, and I'll make a login for you for free. Until next time, this is Paul Allen Clifford from TrinityDigitalMedia.com and ChurchTechU.com, reminding you to go out and change eternity.